Hello, everybody. Roger Durling, Executive Director of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, and I am so excited that I get to talk to writer, director Jayro Bustamante and his new film, La Llorona. La Llorona is Guatemala's official entry for the Academy Awards, and it is shortlisted for Best International Feature Film. It was nominated for the Best Foreign Language Film at the Golden Globes, and it's also nominated for the Best Ibero-American Film at the Goya Awards, which is Spain's equivalent of the Oscars. And it won, yes, Best Foreign Language Film by the National Board of Reviews and the Satellite Awards. Jayro, it's an incredible honor to have you here. I'm a big fan, as I mentioned. I'm from Panama, Central America, and so excited to have. I follow your career, Ixcanul, and Tremores, and now La Llorona. Very proud of what you've achieved. You're incredible talent. And I want to start with the first question. One of the things that struck me so much about La Llorona is that you used influence of Spanish painters in the visuals. I see Diego de Velázquez, I see Goya, I see, traditional Spanish painting in the way you use some of the tableaus that you set up. Can you tell us about that inspiration and your usage of those paintings?
Yeah, thank you so much for that time and space. And as you know, in Central America, build and cinema industry is a hard work, and we are being the pioneers with all that nominations and shortlisted and prizes. So thank you so much, because
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people working very hard in that. And talking about your question, one of the most important references in that film was The Shining. And because the character were in the same space, locked down, but most importantly, because The Shining is an horror movie using a lot of light. And it's not like the other horror movie when we are all the time in darkness and all these sequences happening during the night. So we wanted to keep that. We wanted to keep light. But because La Llorona is a dark character, and La Llorona lived during the night, we need use night too, but we didn't want it to have that darkness. And the Spanish painting came because it's a very nice universe that you have the black being really black, but the characters being so shining at the same time. So there is a kind of a two universe existing in the same line, and in a way, it's a little bit that La Llorona represent this two universe, live people and dead people coexisting.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what was brilliant also about the choice is that there is the colonialism in Central America and our history with Spain, and it still feels palpable. I mean, that's at least where my brain went when I was watching the film. It's like, wow, he is harking back to Spain with the visuals, but the Kubrick part, brilliant. It's and it also, you mentioned Kubrick, I was thinking about the others as well. The fact that it's a haunted place, it's the containment of the characters inside the house.
Yeah, for sure. The others was a very helpful reference too. But I really didn't think about the Spanish because it's our heritage. I'm really think about them because I love that painting, and in a way I wanted to go back far than Spanish arrived to our territory, because La Llorona in fact is a Mesoamerican pre-Columbian legend. And it was very important because La Llorona was a kind of a divinity and a princess And when the Spanish came here, they transformed it, and they transformed that legend to dictaminate the women comportment. So
Mm-hmm.
in a way, we wanted to keep the original one, who was more free about machismo and misogynistic facts. So so that was a very interesting work, and I'm very proud about how
It's
this new Llorona is.
it's a fantastic film. I've seen it a few times now, and what one of the things that I admire the most of what you've done is that the movie is working constantly in three levels. You have a political aspect, you have this horror genre that you're working in, but also you have the folk tradition, and you keep them both, in the same level. Was that, can you tell us what that was, that exciting, managing those three levels, or it was difficult, to maintain that relationship?
It's a little bit complicated to explain to people who don't know very well Latin culture or
Mm-hmm.
indigenous Mesoamerican culture, because all the things that for normal, I mean, for people, Occidental people, consider as horror, for example, dead people or coexisting with souls, for us is so natural. We have
Mm-hmm.
all the time our ancestors with us. We have all the time a candle to talk with them. We are living in that psycho magic and in that magical realism all the time. So in a way, I start doing that separation between what is magical realism and what is horror elements. And after, the most hard work was horror elements are so, in a way, you can have a lot of pleasure using it because it's very effective. And I didn't want to permit the horror elements be more important than horror reality. So
Mm-hmm.
we build a kind of a balance with three baskets. And in one, we put the reality, so the political facts. In the other one, the magical realism, and in the other, the horror elements. And we were all the time keeping the balance between that.
Mm-hmm. When and as I said, you, in every scene, you see each part of it, and that's why I brought it up, because you're constantly keeping them in the forefront, all three levels. Can you tell us about approaching? I think you addressed it a little bit, but the La Llorona tale, the fact that it is a tale that is mandating that was used to mandate the behavior of women. And there's a misogynistic quality to it, and you basically subvert that. Can you, tell us about when did you understand that that was the right entryway into dealing with the political and the history of Guatemala? I know it's a complicated question.
Yeah, there is a lot of answer in that. But the first one is, for us, La Llorona, in the Mesoamerican legend, La Llorona was a woman or a princess or a goddess having the capacity to feel when something bad will happen to her people, and
Mm-hmm.
cried as an announcement. And after that, when the Spanish came, they transformed it and they mixed it with Medea. So Medea, La Llorona became a woman crying because a man quit her, or a woman who didn't follow the rules and continue alive after a man. So she deserved be punished, and punished for the eternity, crying all the time. So we wanted to change that, and we wanted to say maybe La Llorona can be more, can cry because something more relevant as a man, and La Llorona is not just a sinner woman. La Llorona is a justicier woman who come back to help her people. And that was the first thing. And after that, when I decided to use La Llorona to talk about the recent history in Guatemala, um, I I was conscious about the fact that my local audience don't want to talk about that because it's a
Correct.
very, very taboo topic. And so I decided to, in a way, to hide the message in a package. And I made a study, and I discovered that Guatemalan people are watching horror films and superhero films 90% of the time. So La Llorona is a kind of a hero and have all the horror elements. And my log line before use La Llorona was Guatemala is a motherland uh, tired to cry her disappeared people or children. So I made the link very very easy, and I think it works because in my country people start talking. Some people start talking about our history through La Llorona, and that is the most important thing,
Mhm.
most important prize, I would say.
And so there was always the understanding that I'm using La Llorona as a sort of a horror entryway to basically lure the audience to come see a film, and then the political and the other issues that you're dealing with come with it.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to lure people, but I want to, as in all the history of humanity, when we have a very complicated topic to avoid, we use fairy tales, or we use fantasy, and horror and magical realism is a synonym of that.
Hmm. Hmm. The other, to complicate things, and it is a complex film, and you can enjoy it on a surface level, but it is, you deal with other subjects. You deal with the slavery of Native women. You deal with class structure in the film. You deal with mysticism and religiosity. Was was it was it I hate using the word challenging to keep all those themes and ideas floating in the film.
Yeah, it was complicated. When I proposed to Maria Mercedes Coroy and Maria Talon, who play a role as as an indigenous woman working as help in a house, I was conscious that I was serving the big cliches that we have in our society, because in our society we always watch or perceive indigenous women as a maid, and so we didn't want to continue building that cliche, but at the same time there is a very nice message behind, because Guatemalan people having indigenous women working in their house wanted to have something transparent. They don't want to watch that person. They just want to have the house clean, and they want to live with a kind of a slave, transparent slave. So in a way that is a ghost. And it was very important to talk about that, and for the actors was important too. So at the end we justified that fact, and we could work with that. And and after that, for the political to avoid the political issue, it was born because I was curious about the fact that not only our dictator, but all the dictators in Latin America continue saying that they save our countries against communism, and they save our freedom, and they are heroes. And I was wondering if when night arrives, if they put out the mask and they became humans, and they feel some guilty, because half guiltness is a reflex of being a human being.
Hmm.
So that is was the point that I wanted to use horror to understand if somebody came to harm them.
You mentioned, I'm glad you brought up the term communism, because in your film, and it is palpable in the rest of Latin America as well, that people try to equate communism with somebody who's fighting for human rights. And in your film, you have that conflict where, like, you have characters that want justice, that want to fighting for human rights, but they're being called communist. Can you talk about?
It's very complicated. There is three insults very important in Guatemala, the most important insults. The first one is Indio, who means indigenous people. And when you know that Guatemala is more than 70% of indigenous, uh, insult somebody just because their origins, that means that we are a people who don't love their origins, and who is ashamed about ourselves. And the second insult is homosexual, and it's harder for men because they think that a man who is an homosexual is a little bit feminine, and being feminine is inferior. So you have all the women having being insulted at the same time. And the third one is communist. And when you understand that if you if you defend human rights, you deserve that insult. You can understand that in my country, a genocide could happen in impunity because defending others is not the good thing to do.
Speaking of genocide, the main character is based on Efrain Rios Montt, one of the bloodiest dictators in Latin American history. Can you tell us about approaching that character? You do fictionalize his name. It becomes Monteverde. Can you tell us about working with that character?
To be honest, I really based the film in the last facts of the Guatemalan history. So the process to declare that our dictator was a genocider or responsible about the genocide, and 10 days after, 10 days after 12 or 10 years of work, look for justice. And 10 days after, the court said, we are so sorry, oops, there was a mistake, and there is no genocide. And so it was the point that I used as start. But I didn't want to use the personality of our ex-dictator to inspire my character, because I wanted to use all the Latin American dictators. I was in Paris given a class in the university about dictatorships in Latin America, and a student asked me why they were so similar, and this student told me it's like they came from the same school, and I told them, yeah, that's true. That is a school who is in USA, and in that place, people are forming our dictators. So in a way, a genocide is is the more horrific fact that we can live as a human beings. But the real horror there is each human being is a little bit responsible about that, because we didn't stop that in any of the culture that it happens.
Yeah, I was speaking, the terror, I was explaining to a friend of mine that the real horror in your film is not La Llorona and the fantastic things that happen. It's what's happened in the past. It's the genocide and the lack of justice that happened. And it is a brilliant stroke in your part that you use La Llorona as a form of justice. There is a catharsis in the film when La Llorona, which is rare in horror films, that the villain, the so-called villain, is killed by the monster, by the ghost. I want to talk about your style and your approach, in particular sound. It's so impressive. You know, we're used to using sound in horror films to jolt us, and you use the voices of the protesters outside like a Greek chorus that adds suspense and tension. Can you talk about that, your approach to it?
You know, Son was my best friend during that film because we have a very small budget to do the film, and I wanted to portray a whole people, and I was conscious that I didn't have the money to do that, so I decided to put the camera into a house and keep the camera there to build the whole people with sound. And so I invited my sound designer from the beginning of the script to be part of the process. And we had a lot of very nice little things that I don't audience don't have to know or don't have to feel, but I think in the whole universe that they feel it. And we use only musical coming from pre-Columbian instruments. We use real people manifesting, and that was very important because you told about catharsis, and the 2,000 extras or actors that I prefer to call them coming to my film as a manifestant. What do you say that? My
Yeah,
protestant
protester, yes.
protesters. Uh, they are really people looking for justice, and they are really people continue looking for their disappeared missing relatives.
Mhm. Um, the opening sequence, Heido, is so fantastic. You have this circle of women, and there seem to be, I mean, we eventually find out that they're doing a religious prayer, and you zero in on, is it Carmen, the main, the
Yeah,
mother, and then you pull back to reveal this sort of circle, and then you juxtapose it with the man smoking cigar in a separate part of the room. You know, can you tell us about that opening, and how did it come about, and your design of it?
there is two reasons for that. The one most important reason is the fact that our dictators in Latin America are always constructed by the army, the money, and the church. So I wanted to have that. This family, very high class, with that kind of religious rite, and being defended in the other room by the army, who are all the general there. And in another fact, I wanted to keep some elements coming from the horror. And as you know, never a ghost can come into your house if you are not inviting the ghost. And in that prayer, Carmen say, "Come to me, use my body, use my mouth, use my hands to protect my family." And La Llorona came to do that. We can, at the end, is that. So I really like films that in the first scene you have the answer of the end.
That's terrific. When it comes to other inspirations, I mean, I definitely saw Kubrick, I saw the others. Who other visual, you know, filmmakers were you inspired for the film?
Oh, there is a lot of filmmakers who inspire me. And in that film, we we have a lot of, not just to have the visual universe, but for example, Una Historia Oficial, who is
Oh yeah, yeah.
Argentinian film.
Argentinian best foreign film.
It's a very nice film, not just because it's a wonderful film and a masterpiece, but it's a very important film because that film came out very quick after their dictator. And if you know, in Guatemala, we signed the contract of peace. I don't know what you said that in English, but our peace
Uh,
contract in '96.
Peace treaty.
Yeah, and it was in '96, and until now we don't have an official story. history. We don't have anything about that. We continue silence that, and we continue um, persecuting people who wanted to talk about that. So in a way, that film was a kind of an example to us.
Mm-hmm. You, I noticed that there's a cameo of Nobel Prize winner Rigoberta Menchu. Can you tell us about your involvement with Rigoberta Menchu, Nobel Peace Prize winner?
Oh, Rigoberta is a model for me, and because a lot of things, because she became a voice for a people. She became a voice for women, indigenous. So she's very important. And when I met her, I was living in Paris, and after that, and I had a very nice impression. And after that, I come back to my country. I discovered that in Guatemala, she's hate for a lot of people. And
Wow.
out of Guatemala, she's loved, so there is something weird. There is something that people here want to keep in silence. And so when I started La Llorona, I was conscious about the fact that La Llorona is not the film that Guatemalan people loved. So I came to Rigoberta and asked, can you give me an advice to make that film, and to be not irrespetuoso,
Don't say, yeah, disrespectful.
disrespectful with victims, and she was a kind of a mentor for that. And after that, we decided to make a Mayan ceremony to invite the souls of the victims of the genocide to come
Wow.
work with us. And even if it's continue being a magical realism, we really feel protected by them during the shooting.
Mm-hmm. You use the costumes, the clothing that the victims use, and the veil, which is so striking in the tribunal sequence, which you start in a close up and pull back. Is that a traditional veil that they?
I changed a little bit it because uh, that scene is inspired by a specific case in Guatemala called Sepur Sarco. You can look for a little bit. And, and a group of women came to give their experience, and they came to the tribunal with it wasn't a veil, it's called sute in Mayan, it's a kind of a tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to use that, but at the same time, I had the chance to have this great actress come in with a lot of their own life to bring to my character her experience. So I decided that I wanted to watch her face through the veil. So we changed the suit for a veil.
Mm-hmm. You know what, because we mentioned that I grew, I was born in Panama, and we grew up with La Llorona. And the way that she's described to us is that her hair is hanging over her face. And the moment that I bolted out of my seat when I was watching your film, because I was like, oh my God, the veil, there she is, La Llorona. That's where my brain went immediately.
Yeah, for sure there is that intention too. In a way, we wanted to make in each female character a part of La Llorona. So each female character in my film is a Llorona. And and La Llorona, if you look for deeply, there is a lot of links with La Virgen de Guadalupe.
Correct. Yeah.
And so we wanted to use that to make them more a divinity as and separate the character from the monster.
Mm-hmm.
because
Um,
because I don't know why movies use all the time La Llorona as a monster, and the original legends say that she was a princess.
um, I'm glad that you brought about Rigoberta Menchu and rituals. You know, to me, studying Mayan culture, there is a circular feel to it, a cosmos cycle to Mayan culture, and to me, it was very palpable in the film that there's a circularity to the film. Was that you know, part of your thinking at all?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to understand better that and use it in a better way. And because even say rituals is complicated because when a ritual is a way to live, um, have another kind of meaning because it's as a religion, in a way religion is a ritual, but when you adopt that for each day, that became a way to live. So we really wanted to be close of that. We really wanted to be close of that mentality. And you can imagine that if for a human being it's difficult to lose a relative, how difficult can be for a human being coming from the Mayan culture as the rituals are so important, and you never could have a ritual to say goodbye. You just lost your relative like that.
Correct, correct. The film, it's very I mean, you deal head on with political issues and the history that hasn't been reconciled in your country. Was there, when I was watching, I was wondering if were you censored in any way when the word got out about the subject matter and the fact that you were dealing with political events? And was there any danger involved making the film?
It was at the beginning of the project, we received some calls and people, anonymous people giving us the advice that we should to stop that project and make a film talking about the smiling and the colorful about Guatemala. And so after that, we decided to look for protection. So we shoot the film in the French embassy and in the French residency of the ambassador, and in the Mexican embassy and in the Jewish university to have the protection of that institutions. And it works because in a moment, one of the political who was in the power at that time tried to stop the shooting. And the French ambassador came to defend us. And we never shoot as a street scene in a real street. We built the street inside the house because we didn't want to be outside. And it's very weird because even if we never receive a shot or a real attack, we know inside of us that we are in danger because we always being in danger, thinking different in that country.
Mm-hmm. And how, I mean, obviously the film is your country's entry, representing your country, which is a great honor. But how has the country responded to the film?
I can say that I can't feel the whole country, but I can feel that there is a lot of support. And in Guatemala, we don't have cultural or artistic icons, few of them. So that time when La Llorona is being nominated and shortlisted and winning prizes, people are very excited because that. And I think there is two reasons. One reason is because people need to have more culture in their life. And the other reason is because movies are glamour too, and people love glamour. So
Mm-hmm.
it's okay, both for us.
Yeah. So, I mean, so people are haven't been embracing the film ultimately.
Yeah, for sure, the conservative people never will embrace that. they are spending a lot of time and a lot of money to erase that part of our history, so they will continue. And I'm not pretending that they will change, but I'm pretending to make a kind of a sign to new generation and say, even if in the school you never have any information about our recent history, go to internet. It's very easy. You put Guatemala and immediately you have genocide. So it's very easy way to look for information.
One of the things that is really triumphant about your film is that the even the tale of La Llorona, it has deeply ingrained in there's a stigma in our culture and in our way of thinking, and you basically turn that upside down. I know that it's a heavy pressure, but do you possibly see that this film will have some positive change and impact in Guatemala?
You know, I decide to dedicate my work to make some social changement and impact. And when you start a film, you start a project that you will marry for at least 10 years. So I really need to have a more important um, concept in the film that the film by itself. So, and in another way, I think that people making audiovisual right now have another responsibility, because it's very sad, but people read less and they are watching more audiovisual. So they have, in a way, that responsibility to give some interesting content in our films, not
And
only for timing.
last question, Jayro, Maria was the lead actress in this canoe, and she's so memorable and terrific in that. What was it like, working with her and having her star in another one of your films?
Oh, so you know, Maria, we never stopped working together. We stopped working together as a director and an actress in the same film. But but when I built my company in Guatemala, I was conscious that we didn't have a big industry, so we have to form people, and for actors, there is not a movie actors academy, so we start uh, bringing them trainings and helping them to become professionals. And after that, we became their agents to look for other opportunities. And so we are doing a lot of things together. But for sure, not only Maria, but me too, we
Yeah.
are not the same when we start with Ishkanu. And right now we were as a two professionals, asking us for being the same kid that we were at the beginning. You know, it was very nice.
And I lied. I could go on talking to you forever, but we do need to maybe, cut it at some point. You use the Cachiquel language, and we hear it a lot in the film. Can you tell us about the importance of us listening to that language in your film?
In Guatemala, there is more than 20 Mayan language that we spoke, and there it's that language are official, and but only Spanish have the support, or the character as an official. So I think it's very important keep the others and give them light. And in a way, in that film, I use two languages, Ishil and Kaqchikel. And Ishil is because it's very difficult to say that in a genocide, one part of the country was suffering more. But we can say that the conflict was focused on Ishil people. So Ishil, sorry. So I wanted to use that language too. And after that, Kaqchikel is because my grandma was a Kaqchikel woman. And
Mm,
using a quote, quoting Rigoberta Menchu, I think that my social conscience was born when I discovered that my family was using a lot of energy hiding the indigenous part of my grandma, and I was in love with her. So it was very hard. Discovered that being an indigenous people deserve is a cause of shame, you know. So
mhm.
so I think for that I decided to use my films to fight against discrimination.
Wow. Well, Heido, it's a great pride for, speaking from a cinephile like me, who is from Central America, you bring us great pride. And, and what's fantastic also about you and is that not only are you an extremely talented filmmaker, but you also are very, socially conscious and you marry both aspects terrifically, and you're a pride to us, so thank you,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
and congratulations on all the love you've been getting. Well
Thank,
deserved.
thank you for the support.
Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Bye bye.
Ciao.